Welcome to Winning Retirement TV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group. And to our viewers at home, we've heard of biology, sociology, geology. Well, today we're going to talk about retireology. What is that? We're going to start with cheek age. Greg, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good. So good to see you.
Do my cheeks look aged?
You look cheeky.
They do not. We're having a cheeky kind of day.
There you go.
Kristen, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Fantastic. I love that color on you. It's one of my all-time favorites that you wear.
Oh, thank you so much.
Beautiful.
You look beautiful as always.
Thank you both. Well, I love today's show. This is fun because obviously retirementology, this is brand new, but cheek age I really want to dive into because this is fascinating. So scientists have developed a test. It's a swab that they can put in the inside of your cheek. It will estimate your lifespan based on your DNA, and they say it's more accurate than any blood test that have been done in the past. This is interesting to me. It makes me wonder also, as we segue into a different topic on today's show, what formula we should use to really know how much money we should have stashed away for the rest of our lives. But I want to jump back to cheekology. Have you done that?
No, I haven't, but I don't think that would be a good test for me because I bite my cheek.
So do I.
So, I mean, bad.
So do I. Like, I get yelled at every time at the dentist.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
same,
good.
same. So what are you doing there? I'm like, I don't know. I had a lot of anxiety this week. I just bite at them. It's been a habit since I was young, as long as I can remember. How about you?
Yes,
have you done it your whole life?
That is my nervous habit. Like, I don't chew my nails or grind my teeth. It's always the inside of my cheek.
Which is better than your nails.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so too.
Do you bite your cheek? I don't know.
Well, sometimes on accident.
Let's see, you snore, you grind your teeth sometimes.
Oh, we were going to talk about all the things I do wrong today. I don't think there's enough time on the show.
Gregology, let's switch it.
But do we really want to know how long we're going to live or what the expectancy is, or are we going to just find out as we go?
Oh, I think I'd like to just find out as we go.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to know
It could be
that.
scary.
It's interesting.
Yeah, when it comes to, figuring out how that segues over into retirement, though, I think you need to start looking at some of the old rules again as a starting point of the conversation. And so I looked it up just because we don't necessarily always go by basic rules in our office, but the 25% rule, which I'm sure Greg's aware of, but it's taking 25% of your annual need times, taking your annual need times 25%. And you come up with a number that you might possibly need in retirement. So let's say you needed $60,000, 25%, it would be 1.5 million that you would need.
Okay.
So that would be the rule of thumb. The problem is with all these rules of thumb, the gardening term, right, is that it doesn't account for inflation, which we saw a tremendous uptick in inflation. Of course, it's come down, but prices are still high, right?
Absolutely, they are.
And it doesn't account for other sources of income. So if you have other accounts out there, including like Social Security or pensions, small other accounts, it doesn't account for that. So what do you do from there to decide what you actually need for retirement?
Yeah, and talking about life expectancy, so many times when people come into the office, they want to know what's the probability of me outliving my retirement money.
Maybe the cheek test could help with that. I
don't know. We could try it. But,
absolutely.
But, a portfolio actually has a DNA of its own. And what's interesting about the DNA of a portfolio and how it's constructed, how it's built, is so much of what we put our money into when we get started are things like mutual funds. And we're putting money in out of every paycheck. We're putting money in regularly, and we're doing this thing called dollar cost averaging, which is wonderful. And then if we're putting money into a 401k and we get a company match, now we put money in regularly, our company puts money in regularly. And even though the investments we put our money in could possibly be inefficient, we don't notice it because we're buying it at different price points. We're doing it over a long extended period of time, over decades really, and not noticing how much the ups and downs of the market could really impact this. Well, so as we're going along and we're seeing our money grow, and some people have saved $500,000 in their 401ks or their investments, others $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, whatever. The amount isn't necessarily important at this point, but what's important is what happens when we do something different to it.
Yes.
And that is when we start actually taking withdrawals and we start to expose the inefficiencies. And so that can really change the life expectancy, if you would, of our money in retirement. So it's a big, big deal to understand, have it tested. And by the way, there are tests that we can do, not cheek tests,
right,
but other tests that we can do in the office to actually test the viability of that portfolio. It's something even called alpha. Right. Alpha is a word that really exposes the risk-adjusted returns of a portfolio. We find out, is my portfolio really getting bang for its risk buck? And that's important.
Well, and I think it's important to point out, when I mention the rules of thumb throughout the shows over the years, those work as you're leading up to the retirement point, I feel like.
Yes.
That's why we kind of jokingly say, well, this is what they're saying, right? Who are they? I don't know. But I think it's important to say, okay, from there, most of you watching the show today are of the age that you're ready. You have that nest egg and you're trying to answer the question, do I have enough? Not how much more do I need to put in my nest egg, but is this enough? I need to figure out, do I have enough to last now?
Absolutely.
So you're doing a different problem. You're doing a different type of equation. And so I think it's important as you go along to see that this analogy actually works really well. We were talking off air a little bit about DNA testing for ancestry, but DNA testing goes beyond that with this cheek age test. It's checking for life expectancy.
Right.
It's checking for physical aging and mortality and all those things. And I feel like if you do the testing on your portfolio, you're checking for the same things, right?
That is true.
Yeah.
You are, and just think about it really when we're looking at this. What are we really concerned about? We're concerned that we're going to be able to pay our bills. We're concerned that we can maintain our lifestyle. We're concerned that we're not going to be a burden on others. We're concerned that our money is going to be there until the very end, even though we don't know exactly when the very end is. We want to make sure that we're going to be okay. And so having consistency in the portfolio and then structuring it. So how do we structure a portfolio for a retirement plan versus an accumulation plan? Because these are two totally different things. And so one is we need to make sure that we've accounted for liquidity.
Yeah.
That's when the unexpected happens. Or maybe even the expected, like we expect to buy a new car next year.
Right.
And we know we're going to spend $50,000 on this new vehicle. Well, we need to have accounting for that liquidity that we're going to need to buy this vehicle. So all these things come into play. Income need.
Sure.
Okay, when we do the math, and I just met recently with a single lady. She's 58 years old. She's going to be retiring in a year. And we needed an additional $30,000 a year on top of a pension she's going to have and then accounting for Social Security at age 62. So we're going to need $30,000 a year for her to be able to retire comfortably for the long term. And so we looked at that, and she had about $1.2 million saved, did a really good job. And so she's saying, Greg, I just want to be confident.
Right.
So all in all, here's what we did. We left $150,000 in liquidity for her for the things she wanted to do, needs, wants, emergencies. It took roughly $420,000 to fund her income plan, and that left over $500,000 for her to have for her long-term growth, to keep pace with inflation, to take care of unforeseen healthcare needs, possible tax changes in the future. So we accounted for all these things. So the structure was no longer just mutual funds. Now it was a combination of ETFs and stocks and fixed income and things like that that allowed her to have the confidence, okay, I've got money in the bank, I've got money for income, now I have money for long-term growth. And that gave her the confidence to say, okay, in a year, I can retire and it's going to be okay.
Oh, definite peace of mind, which you can't put a price tag on that. Why don't we take our first commercial break? Would that be okay, Kristen and Greg? To our viewers at home, are you asking yourself right now, when can you comfortably retire? Are you nervous about running out of money? Do you know how much risk is in your portfolio? This is the perfect time for you to take advantage of the complimentary free portfolio x-ray. All you have to do is call into 614-336-7660. If you don't have your pen handy, you can grab your smartphone, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That will take you right to the landing page for Legacy Retirement Group, and you can claim your spot accordingly. Remember, if you have any of these questions today about how to not outlive your money, this is the perfect opportunity for you to call in. Take advantage of this completely free, complimentary portfolio x-ray. Once again, 614-336-7660. Now, when we come back, We all love AI. We know it can be a little bit scary, but it's become the new Google when you have a question. And a lot of people are using it for good and for bad. When we come back, we're going to talk about how Greg and Kristen can help others use it in a positive way. Stay tuned.
Plan smart, retire well. How do you do that? Many times we meet families and they actually think they have a plan.
But what about when you want to upgrade your house? What about when your wife wants to buy new furniture?
No investment decision should be made outside the context of a plan. So what is your plan? We believe in the 3-bucket approach as it comes to your finances. Your liquid bucket, which is what I call the sleep well at night account, for when the what ifs happen in life. Your income bucket, which is there to meet the gap between Social Security, maybe a pension, and what you really want to live in. We believe you should protect that income, then grow the rest. And then your growth bucket. The growth bucket's really focusing on helping you achieve your growth goals. As you transition from your working career to retirement, we want that to be the greatest moment of your life, and we don't want you to fumble the ball.
So imagine, when you're working, you're getting a paycheck. When you're retired, you have to pay yourself. The 3-bucket approach is a really easy way for people to start compartmentalizing what they're doing with their money.
We want you to be successful in any economy. We want you to thrive no matter what's going on. Worry and fear and greed are the biggest problems when it comes to investing. We want to take that off the table, and we want to make sure you have a consistent growth strategy. We want you to be just as successful in your retirement plan as you were in your accumulation plan.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement TV. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group. And we're talking all about retirementology, of course, but in this next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about how AI is actually beneficial for some people. This is interesting. Google is investing a lot of money into its space camera work network. And the reason is it's going to help detect wildfires in small areas all through Google Maps. I think that's amazing. Finally, something that sounds a little more helpful and not scary from the AI world.
Yeah, I think I've read that it's like 16 square feet it'll be able to detect, which is crazy from a satellite, right? Greg's brother unfortunately dealt with a fire last year, and fires are just devastating.
They are.
Horrible, horrible for families out there. But, the use of AI has kind of infiltrated every area of what we do now.
Everything.
Hasn't it?
Everything.
One of our staff members, she's actually one of my best friends, Jessica at our office, was talking about the AI tool now on Apple. And I have all these Apple gadgets, and I haven't quite figured that out yet, how it's integrated in. But she said it's an amazing, amazing feature on there. And so we use AI now, whether we know it or not, on a daily basis.
It's true.
Yeah, even with phones, a lot of the phones are being answered with AI and that. Now we see images that are AI. So all kinds of areas there. But you know what I think of when we say AI?
What's that?
The Jetsons. Do you remember?
Oh,
Do you remember watching that
George
show?
Jetson.
Yes.
Brother, wait, sister,
Best
Judy.
show. That was the best show.
Jane, his wife.
So sometimes Greg feels like he's living in their home because I love home automations.
Oh my goodness.
And so I put all these lights in, these huge. I'm actually kind of funny about color temperature of lights. And I like a certain color temperature.
Yes.
And when we first moved in our home, they didn't have as many options with the LED lighting. So I did those so I could adjust the temperature. Well, he gets annoyed because I have all these switches around. And I'm like, do not touch the light switch because then it messes up my Alexa.
She went around taping the light switches up
did.
so that I wouldn't flip them off, I wanted to flip them off,
You
but
shouldn't flip them off. But yeah, so,
Yeah.
I mean, and I know, it may be a generational thing between the two of us. There's that. But, I like the automation in the house.
Well, I was doing my husbandly duty a couple weeks ago, and I was folding laundry in our room. And so I was folding, and she and I were having a conversation. She was doing some things while I was folding the clothes. And Alexa actually answers us back.
Say it on air, it'll trigger people's Alexas.
Oh, I know. And I said, Alexa, why are you so nosy?
It is scary, but I do think,
I know.
they're hearing everything. Absolutely.
So now it's infiltrating the financial world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's totally bad in some ways. I try to be positive about things, but Greg and I were talking about this recently. That's why we wanted to bring it up on the show. And it's missing the key elements of communication.
Like robo-advisors, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes,
AI
yes.
for financial planning, robo-advisors, or
Yeah.
any AI tool really.
Yeah.
For using it for answering of questions, like she mentioned at the
Yeah.
top of the segment.
Yes.
The problem is it's missing so many elements of communication, and I'm kind of a student when it comes to nerdy things that I'm interested in. So I went back to my old communications 101 class in my mind, and it was thinking about nonverbal communication, right? How important that is when we're talking.
Right.
Because when we're meeting with a client, we're picking up on nonverbals. And a lot of times what I saw in the conference room were the nonverbals from the wife when the husband was talking.
Absolutely.
That's generally what I saw.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would just sit and say, you know what, Greg, it's been a while since I've had this because we have such a mix now. There's a lot of women that handle the finances. I handle our finances. So it's not necessarily all men, talking and women sitting there. But in most of the cases that I saw, I would say, Greg, I sense a little bit of, I don't agree.
Yes. Yes.
Let's go back for a minute and let's figure
Right.
this out. And so as you're having the conversations, that nonverbal communication is key.
It is.
Absolutely.
You can't get that from AI.
It's very, very true.
It's not picking up on what you're saying. Now, technically it can in some ways, but for what people are using it for, I don't think it does.
And then feedback,
agree.
Kristen, because, we can listen and listen and listen and try to find out the true goals for a family or an individual. And we can present something that we believe will fix some problems, whether the problem is taxes, whether it's too much risk, whether it's not having enough income, whatever the problem is, we can, find solutions for that. But then many times the couple or the individual will give us feedback. And, okay, we like this about your plan, but we
Yeah.
don't necessarily love this about your plan. And then we can go back and we can tweak it based on their feedback. In other words, we want to make it personalized to them where they actually feel comfortable.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. I think that's key. Another one that comes to mind is context awareness. And this is really, really, I think, one of the most important ones because I can't tell you how many times we've had conversations and the person kind of tells us one thing and then we go to the review maybe a year later and the conversation shifts and we can say, okay, but didn't you say X? Didn't you say that, in 5 years you want to buy a new car, or I'm trying to think of an example,
Right.
or buy a new house. We know the context of why we did the plan, the way we did it. Sometimes as the family that we're working with, a year later, they've moved on. I joke with Greg all the time. Sometimes I will have a list of things to do, and if it pertains to him, then I hand it to him. I give it to him. I say, okay, I need you to do this.
Right. Yep.
Once I take it off my plate, it's his to handle, right? I don't
Yes.
think about it anymore. I can't. I don't have the capacity to. And I think families, when you're working with a financial advisor, and it's within your right to do that, to hand the thing off.
Right.
And it be their
Yes.
responsibility to really help you remember those things that were important to you in the beginning of the conversations.
Absolutely.
So saying all that to say that if we understand the situation the way it stands when a family comes in and
Right.
meets with us the first time and we make the plan based on that, when we do a review a year later, that context needs to come into the conversation if there's going to be changes that are made.
Of course.
I think that's really, really important. AI cannot do that.
No.
It
Right.
doesn't know the full lay of the land.
No.
I think it's real important for people to understand that you can use technology, but it's no replacement for that personal touch. I mean, just last week, I'm meeting with a widow. Her husband passed away. She's devastated. Life has changed. Everything's different now. Her tax bracket's different. Everything's different right now. And sitting down with her and, you know, helping wipe the tears and really letting her know that there's someone there that loves her and cares about her and wants her to be successful in this next phase of life. That's something that you can't get from a robo-advisor. It's something that you can't get from just technology. You need to find that person that is a true fiduciary, that truly does care, that truly has your best interest at heart, and then that will work with you as life happens.
Greg, thank you so much. Kristen, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, are you sitting in the audience today and asking yourself, how do I put together technology and also have a true caring heart on the other side? Well, your answer is right there at the phone. Call in to Greg and Kristen Taylor at Legacy Retirement Group, 614-336-7660. See how they're going to weave technology into designing a customized plan for your specific needs. They understand that life happens. You're an individual. You're a person. You need customized care, not answers that you can find on AI. Retirement is not that generalized. It's specific just for you. All you have to do is call in, 614-336-7660. If you don't have a pen handy, that's okay. You can grab your smartphone, click on that QR code at the bottom corner of your screen. That will take you right to the landing page for Legacy Retirement Group. You can claim your spot together, or you know what I'm trying to say, with Greg and Kristen together. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. Speaking about technology, is there a piece of technology that would be free to you to help you figure out your future taxes? Stay tuned. We'll be right back momentarily.
We know the market is going to get worse from here. This is the biggest monthly decline in 10 years. People's 401ks took a major hit.
Well, my investments are tanking. My retirement isn't going as planned. I can't believe I let my kid talk me into buying crypto. I mean, what is that anyway?
This was the fourth worst contraction in history.
So how are you two doing?
Your financial future doesn't have to be uncertain. I'm Kristen Taylor with Legacy Retirement Group. If you've amassed a nest egg, it's time for a financial advisor to help you reach your retirement goals. This is one of the greatest tax windows in history. Now is the time to take advantage of this tax discount while you can. We specialize in retirement planning, tax mitigation, estate planning, and much more. Plan your retirement right. Call now for your portfolio review and tax analysis.
Welcome back to Winning Retirement Television. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Greg and Kristen Taylor of Legacy Retirement Group. I love talking about AI. I love talking about technology. Most importantly, I love how you put a personal, customized spin into technology with each individual client and customer that comes into your office, if you will. Let's talk a little bit about testmyretirement.com, because that's a big one. So I think we should spend some time talking about technology, how that marries together with both of you.
Yeah, so right from our website, you can get to testmyretirement.com. And when you click on Learn More, then you'll be brought to a separate page that will let you start filling out your information. And it's really easy. You just name, age, about how much you've saved in IRA or 401k dollars, and then tax bracket. And you know, if you're not sure of what tax bracket to put, there's even a box there that says default 25%. And after you put in the information, it takes you to another screen within seconds, and you're able to get a feel for what your tax obligation would be. So right before the show, I went on and did it real quick and put in a 65-year-old with $1 million, and then it spit out the information. This is going to be shocking. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So the tax liability possibly is $835,140 if you don't make any changes.
Oh my gosh.
And then if you make
$1 million?
On $1 million.
Wow, that
So
leaves you with
almost as
nothing.
much in taxes as what they have saved
But
over their lifetime.
there's growth in there, and so it's taken account for the growth.
Okay.
But then $250,000 with possible adjustments.
Wow.
Now this is, so just like we talked earlier in the show about rules of thumb and things, this is a starting point for the conversation for you to understand and get your mind wrapped around what your RMDs are going to look like, what your future tax is going to look like, what your heirs tax is going to look like. So that's accounting for all those things, and you get a report emailed to you. It gives you a quick synopsis screen, then you get an emailed report. So it's a really nice tool,
Yes.
just that you can do from the comfort of your own home to start formulating the questions that you have. I think sometimes that's the hardest step in
it
meeting
is.
with an advisor, is knowing what to ask them. I don't know what to
Yes.
ask, right?
Yeah.
If we're doing a home project, I have no idea what to ask you. You gotta lead me into some questions,
Yes.
right? And so I think that's what this does.
It does. It's required minimum distributions. And for many right now, it's age 73. In 2033, it goes up to age 75.
Okay.
So just when people have to take it has kind of gotten a little bit confusing. And then how much might they be? You know,
Right.
so this is an eye-opener for that, how much the required distributions might actually be. And then what is my potential tax bill or my tax burden? How much does Uncle Sam actually own of this tax deferred account?
Yes.
And I hate to think about it like that, but that's truly the case. Uncle
Yes.
Sam
Yeah.
is a business partner with me. And I don't necessarily trust that in Washington they're fiscally responsible. You know, just not 100% sure. It kind of shows you and makes people aware of the cost of doing nothing.
True.
You know, I've done it this way. Should I do anything different? Is a Roth conversion strategy, does it make any sense at all? Maybe it's too late, maybe it's not. TestMyRetirement.com can help answer some of these questions. And here's a real, it's a revelation for some whose advisors dropped the ball on this. And they've not really brought up the conversation. They've not really
Giving them a
helped them.
chance to think about making it more efficient.
Well, that's
right?
it. So I just had a client come in and says, you know what this has revealed to me, Greg? I said, what? He said, it reveals to me that my advisor has been letting me down because I've had these questions, but have not been getting any answers.
Wow. I'm sure you hear that a lot.
We do.
Yeah. And that's really what it comes down to is listening, and
does.
you both do that so very well. So overall, all you really need for the testmyretirement.com is just your information as far as your IRA, any of
Yes.
your retirement savings, and that's all you have to input.
Yeah,
Yes.
just your name, age, retirement savings, the tax qualified or tax deferred $1.
Okay.
And email. That's it. It's so quick and easy. And it gives you this report that's nice. And I wanted to mention, too, that about half of that $800,000 was RMDs and reinvested RMDs, but the other half was the money that the heirs are going to have to pay tax on.
Yes.
And sometimes that's really important to people, that they would leave money that's not taxable to their heirs.
Of course.
So I think it's a really important exercise to go through, just so you understand
Yes.
what you're possibly going to be paying.
Absolutely. And then once they get that email, they can
Yes.
schedule the time with you and come in
Absolutely.
and sit down and really do a deep dive to what their responsibility would be and how they can make changes.
Yeah, because right on the website, there's a place they can go, schedule now. We have our Calendly link. And if those who are really interested in diving deep and getting some answers, we're happy to help.
Greg and Kristen, thank you for another amazing episode this week. This was fun. To our viewers at home, we hope that you found this information enjoyable and informative. That number to call is 614-336-7660. We know that you have a lot of questions about how to plan your perfect retirement. Those answers are not found on the computer. They're not found on AI. You need to have face-to-face contact. The number is 614-336-7660. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today on Winning Retirement TV with Greg and Kristen Taylor. Take care.